fights of all time, in every fight that's ever happened. But you look at those two separately, and you know, it wasn't their night tonight, and it wasn't an exciting fight.
I would win against Anthony, but here I am with a broken jaw, learning the hard way. I'll heal.
What just happened? What you just saw was, yes, Jake Paul finding out there's levels to this game. Yes, Anthony Joshua not having the greatest performance of all time, but him doing exactly what he had to do, what he needed to do for boxing, what he needed to do for himself.
The internet exploded the moment Jake Paul went down in his long-rumored fight with Anthony Joshua. As soon as Jake hit the canvas, everyone looked at Dana White. The UFC president has spent years calling Jake Paul a hype-made boxer. Dana did not need to say much. His smile and short comments said everything. Many people felt he was proven right as real heavyweight power crashed into YouTube hype, turning Jake Paul's confidence into a harsh lesson watched by millions.
Up in that calf kick, you know, the whole first round, he couldn't have had a better first round, and then he got caught.
Do you feel it's one of those things where, like, he got caught, or is it one of those things where Hangman age might be catching up to him, he might be slowing down? Which one do you think it could be?
Anthony Joshua stopped Jake Paul in the 6th round of their heavyweight fight. The knockout was brutal and sent Jake Paul to the hospital. The combat sports world immediately started talking about it. Jake's injuries were serious. He suffered a broken jaw and multiple fractures. After the fight, he had surgery that required titanium plates, and some of his teeth had to be removed.
Thinking, for my own credibility, I've got to knock you out, but I've got to try and knock you out where I'm not hurting you as much as what I could if I unleashed. Yeah. And with the punch you said that he landed, it's not his best punch, it's his most powerful punch, right? Yep. And he's shattered his jaw in 2 places, right? So Anthony Joshua gets his 70 million, whatever it is. But I think he's sitting there thinking, thank God for that. Thank God. On a human level, I've come out, all right, I've sort of, not reputation, but I haven't hurt him as bad as what I could have.
There should be an awful amount of people breathing a massive sigh of relief. Anybody that put that fight together, athletic commissions, like you said.
It wasn't a fight.
No, it wasn't at all. Like you said, it was a prize
Yes.
fight. It was an event. If Anthony damages him, he's got to live with that for the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of stress to deal with, you know what I mean? So I'm sure he's bleeding inside of relief. The team that have put him in there, that have negotiated that for him, but the authorities that put that on and commissioned it as a proper boxing match, I've no doubt.
Does that go on his...
Yeah, it's a professional boxing.
Do you know what? If I was Anthony Joshua, I would be saying, I don't want that on my record.
Well,
But for the credibility of them putting the fight on, they would have said to him, no, we've got to say this. It's been commissioned. It's going to be a proper fight. And yeah, I found it, I love my boxing, but I just find the whole thing really, really unedifying. You said about get followers. You mentioned Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury is nowhere near his level of getting like a British title fight or whatever. Nowhere near. So it's basically he's like...
Beat Jake Paul.
Well, oh yeah, sorry, yeah, beat Jake Paul. But so
but what I'm saying is that's 100. I stand by that, and I think Tommy would admit that. You know what I mean? To become a British champion is a very prestigious thing to do, and I think he would struggle to do that.
Yeah, but I think when I was reading, he got 5.6 or...
Scans and x-rays showed that Jake Paul's jaw was broken in 2 places. This is known as a double fracture. After the fight, Jake drove himself to the hospital, where doctors confirmed the injury. His recovery was expected to take 4 to 6 weeks. Jake later shared pictures of the scans on social media and thanked fans for their support. Dana White had already said before the fight that this matchup was a bad idea. He believed Jake was not ready to face a former heavyweight champion like Joshua. After the knockout, many felt Dana's opinion was proven right. He even joked that fans wanted the fight just to see Jake finally get stopped.
Oh, Jesus. That's a fucking bad idea. That's a bad idea. But let me tell you what. A lot of people watch that one.
Will you watch it?
Sure. You know what everybody's tuning in for on that one. I think everybody's going to get...
Many boxing analysts said the outcome was clear from the moment the fight was announced. Some called the build-up and aftermath a Tom and Jerry show. Jake Paul spent months trash-talking and acting loud, while Anthony Joshua stayed quiet, calm, and patient. Once the fight started, the jokes ended quickly. Joshua's power, timing, and boxing intelligence completely overwhelmed Jake. The knockout surprised casual fans, but not serious boxing analysts.
Oh man, great performance by Jake, brother.
Come on, bro. Legend for that. He has such big balls getting in the ring with that guy, dude. Josh was a monster. He stayed in the whole time, and I'm really proud of Jake, dude. All my respect to him, bro. Whatever outlet. I mean, dude, he went 6.5 rounds with Anthony Joshua, one of the best in the world. So I got nothing to.
And got up like 2 times. Talk about that. I mean, there's like other heavyweights that have caught that right hand who haven't got it.
Nagano, so many people, bro, over him, right? Jake's got a tough chin, dude. I think he does whatever he wants after this. He's got such big balls, dude. He had to keep moving. That was the only strategy. People are going to say he ran around the ring. They don't understand fucking boxing.
He's showing a ton of heart, right? What's next for Jake Paul?
Legendary trainer Teddy Atlas surprised fans by explaining a possible way Jake Paul could have beaten Joshua, even though it seemed very unlikely. Atlas said styles matter in boxing. He believed Jake could use his youth, faster feet, and movement to frustrate Joshua. Atlas suggested constant movement, avoiding exchanges, and throwing a surprise right hand when Joshua overcommits. It would not be exciting, but Atlas said this defensive plan was Jake's best chance in an 8-round fight.
Talk about news that broke out, and it's someone that you've always shown respect to, and I've asked you these questions before about Jake Paul. We had a surprise announcement just the other day about him and Anthony Joshua. What was your reaction when you saw that announcement? It shocked a lot of people in boxing. What did you make of that, or what do you make?
Jake hasn't made too many mistakes so far, so it got my attention. It got Teddy's attention. He's been growing. He's been growing in the ring. He's been growing outside the ring. He's been growing in confidence. I think that in the Canelo situation, that didn't happen. He was ready to do that. I think if anything else, if nothing else, he's showing you that he truly is believing in himself. And that, he's been a work in progress. He still is. And he's showing you, he's putting his money where his mouth is. Everyone's calling for him to do this, to do that. And, he's always had the advantage with guys that weren't real fighters. They were fighters. They were older fighters. They were MMA fighters. They were this, they were that. They were smaller. They were older. Now he's taking a guy that's bigger, older, but bigger. A real, can't debate if he's a fighter. 2-time heavyweight champ. Coming off, but he's a smart son of a gun. He's a gutsy son of a... I always stood up for him because everyone was saying he was hurting the sport. He wasn't hurting the sport. In some ways, he was bringing interest in a different way to the sport. But
The fight, promoted as Judgment Day, was scheduled for 8 3-minute rounds in the heavyweight division. Anthony Joshua was a heavy favorite because of his experience, his height of 6 feet 6 inches, and his size advantage. Jake Paul weighed about 216 pounds, while Joshua weighed around 243 pounds. After a few cautious early rounds, Joshua took control. He knocked Jake down multiple times in the 5th round. Early in the 6th round, around 131, Joshua landed a powerful right hand that dropped Jake to the canvas. The referee immediately stopped the fight.
Some people believe in fairy tales. Whoever believed that Jake Paul was going to win, that was an absolute fairy tale. I've got a friend in a group message that said, I just put $20 on Jake Paul to win. I was like, bro, you just wasted your money. There was never a world in which Jake Paul was going to beat Anthony Joshua. It was always a matter of how the fight would end. So I watched all the pundits talking about the fight. Even Rosendo, my boxing coach, I was like, does Anthony Joshua represent boxing? Everybody from that world felt like Anthony Joshua was representing boxing. And as the fight started to go on, first off, he was representing boxing, so they wanted him to get the job done. All right, first and foremost. You can't lose to a guy that's perceived to be a YouTuber, even though today, Jake Paul is more boxer than YouTuber. I've said this time and time again. When you have resources, when you can spend $1 million a year on training camps, housing, food, coaches, this is not recreational anymore. He's a boxer. He's just not a boxer at that level. I ran into his brother in New York City. and I said to Logan, what parameters are in place, Logan? What safeguards do they have to make sure that Anthony Joshua doesn't hurt your brother? He said there are none. He goes, they're going to just straight fight. So in that regard, you got to give credit.
Yeah, dropped him. I think he got stopped on his feet, counted out, knocked out, whatever, however you want to call it. It wasn't a bad knockout. It wasn't an El Sparko. He wasn't rendered unconscious, but he got done. He got it on the chin. He went over. He didn't beat the count. He was sort of up on his feet. But if I'm honest, the whole fight was terrible, wasn't it? It was just so bad. It was just shit, wasn't it? A proper bad fight for AJ. And let me start with AJ. AJ was following him around the ring a little bit, sort of pouring with the jab, putting the jab on the shoulder of Jake Paul, sort of putting him in the corner and not really pulling the trigger on the right hand. He didn't seem to be motivated to go in there and just smash Jake Paul into oblivion in the first 1 or 2 rounds, which I think he could have done. But he's been out of the ring 15 months, a bit slow on his feet, a bit ring rust maybe, and it's hard. When I used to spar novice amateurs, even when I was a world champion pro, if you're not motivated, sometimes you can have a couple of bad rounds and you're sort of looking at your opponent and a jab hits you or right hand hits you. And I think AJ was in a bit of a daze early on, just walking him around, touching the jab on his shoulder, not really pulling the trigger on the right hand. Didn't look like he got out of first gear. Jake Paul was just on pure survival mode from round 1 right through to round 6. I don't know if he's got a moral victory going 6 rounds. Maybe he has. People might give him credit for going 6 rounds, but he got in there and just survived. He just went in there and ran like a chicken from round 1 right through to round 6 when he got splattered. And it's just, you can't really justify what he's done because this is supposed to be a professional sanctioned boxing match. And I think it brings the integrity of the sport down when somebody like AJ, who's a 2-time world champion, can't get in there and just completely dismiss somebody like Jake Paul, who I've said for ages